let's do that for today. Okay, I'll also record today's session in subsequence to our last class. So, excuse me. What I'm saying is, guys, that during that actual client call is when you work with the client. Work with the client, but the client will be asking you a lot of diverse questions from your background, how much you know about this job, how comfortable you are with this job. They will try to test your technical skills. They will try to test your organizational skills, your conversation skills, your communication, and all that stuff. Okay, so that will be a real formal interview. Okay, so expect that particular interview or that particular call with the client to go for at least 30 to 45 minutes, very rarely an hour. I mean, an hour is very rarity, but 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes they like you so much in first 20 minutes they say, hey, you know what? Okay, we're good. And next thing you know, you got the job. So what I'm saying is that first take the vendor call very seriously. If you miss the call, please return their calls on time or as soon as possible. And then once the vendor call is over, then there is a client call, and with the actual client for whom you'll be working for if you get the job. And that will be the formal actual interview. Now, we did discuss some of the questions in our last session, that what kind of questions they could ask. Okay, and today we'll discuss some more scenarios, some more questions, and some more areas where you could brush up your skills, or some more questions which you could expect during your interview for a business analysis job. Now, some of the vendors, or not some of vendors maybe, or maybe not just vendors, but maybe clients as well, might ask you that, okay, if you think you can do a job of a business analyst, what do you think would be your biggest strength, or what do you think would be the area where you can do the best possible job as a business analyst? What part or what particular responsibility of a BA you think you can do the best? Now, I don't know about your individual situation, or how good you are with each and every part of SDLC, or each and every responsibility which can be given to a BA. But if you are good with documentation, if you're good with facilitation, if you're good with working with different diverse teams, what you could say is that as a business analyst, I think I can do a very good job during the requirements phase. I mean, I think I'm very good with elicitation of requirements. I have very good facilitation skills. I can facilitate chat sessions, bring people together, ask questions, document everything, and out of those meetings, I can document a robust set of business requirements. So as a business analyst, I think I can flourish in that particular phase of SDLC, okay, which is requirements gathering or requirements documentation. So this is something you can say. Some people can say, hey, you know what? I like working on requirements. I'm a very big on documentation. I can create BRD and RTMs and all those documents related to requirements. And also, I think I'm very good at testing. I can definitely do a very good job in the testing phase. And if they ask you, okay, so how would you approach testing? Or what would be your approach as a BA to test a particular project? How would you do it? What you can say is, taking the approved set of business requirements as a foundation, I document my test cases and test scripts. Okay, so what I'm saying, let me repeat. Taking the approved set of business requirements, I document my test cases and test scripts. And once test cases and test scripts are documented, I execute those test cases and test scripts in the test environment. I actually do the testing. And if there are any bugs or defects, I document those bugs and defects. And we discuss those defects during the defect log call, and which is held on a daily basis or a few times a week. So when you talk about testing, just make sure, guys, you specify or you mention somewhere in your conversation that During testing phase, it's not just the actual execution of testing or doing actual testing is something you do. You also participate or you also partake in the documentation part of testing as well. That is very important. Okay, if as a BA they ask you to test, they might even expect you to document what you're going to test, and you should be able to convey that, okay, so this is something I enjoy doing, this is something I have done it before, or I am very interested in doing, and I can do a very good job. Um, One of the questions can also be like, okay, so as an analyst or as a BA, how do you, what kind of job are you expecting, or what kind of particular role you're looking for? Now, I've already told you guys that as a business analyst, your primary responsibility or one of your major responsibilities can be implementation of projects, implementation of some enhancements, implementation of some systems, okay, a brand new system or an enhancement. And that is something you will be expected to do anyways. Okay, so as a business analyst, please try to convey that I find myself very comfortable, or I'm looking for a role which is very strong strong in implementation of projects. So I want to implement projects, okay, of any nature in healthcare industry. But at the same time, I am also very comfortable maintaining the current book of business, current system. Okay, when you work for a firm, they are, even if they're implementing new systems, they also have current systems which are up and running, and they have to be maintained on a daily basis. So a job of a business analyst is not only to implement new systems, but at the same time, when there are existing systems and which need maintenance work, BA should be able to take up that responsibility as well. And when I say maintenance of business, reporting is one of them. Okay, when somebody comes to you and say, hey, can you please run a report for me? Your question should be, yes, I can. But what exactly are you looking for? Hey, I'm looking for some data. Data from where? Oh, patient data. What's the criteria of the data? What are the different fields you're looking for? What is the actual criteria of the data you want me to pull? You ask all those questions, write the SQL query, pull the data, and send it to them. Reporting is one of them. Second scenario can be, let's say, there are two EDI transactions or healthcare claims which come in and they fail. Now, why do they fail? Nobody knows. Now, you as a business analyst will be brought up in that situation and say, hey, look, BA, what happened is there are two claims which are failing, and here is the error code for their failure. Can you please take a look into it? Now, you as a business analyst will look at the EDI transaction. You will look at the error code. You will correlate. Okay, this is the EDI file. This is the claim. This is failing, and this is failing because of this reason. Reason is the actual error code. Now, based on that situation, you have to do some research. Okay, so for example, a claim fails because of member not active on date of service. Okay, so you look at the particular date the EDI transaction was processed or created, or the actual date patient received the medical service. You look at that segment, you look at that particular data and find out the date. Then you open the member profile, the actual patient profile, and see when did his coverage expired. If the date of service or the date of treatment is outside the window of coverage available to that patient, insurance company is not going to pay his bills, so the claim is denying for the right reason. So you do that research and provide an explanation to the claims team that, hey, you know what, the claim is denying for the right reason. The reason is this patient did not pay his medical bills, and his coverage was terminated, and now he's trying to get his medical bills paid, but we're not going to pay his bills because he did not pay his medical premium. So what I'm saying is that there will be responsibilities such as troubleshooting. This is troubleshooting of EDI claims, EDI transactions. Okay, if a claim gets denied because of invalid ICD code, you take that ICD code, write a SQL query, and find that what's the version of that ICD code. If the version is number 9, claim is denied for the right reasons. We don't accept any ICD-9 codes. We accept only ICD-10. So the claim is denied for the right reason. Now the claims team will reach out to the hospital or the provider and say, hey, you know what, you sent the claim, it was good, however, the ICD code used in the claim was wrong. So please resend that claim. Fix it and resend it. So that kind of communication has to be done. So long story short, what I'm trying to tell you is that as an analyst, as a business analyst, you'll be spending majority, 60, 70, maybe 80% of your time as an implementation expert, somebody who is implementing a project, okay, who's playing the whole SDLC game, going through requirements and design and testing and all that stuff. But besides that, you will be maintaining their current book of business, which can involve reporting, troubleshooting, or any other responsibility, or some documentation, maybe documentation for some old project or recently implemented project. They might expect you to do the documentation. Okay, so as an analyst, try to prepare yourself as somebody who is good at both implementation and maintenance of business. Does it make sense, guys? I mean, I'm going on and on with these things about the BA, but does it make sense? Do you agree? Do you have anything to add or share? No comments? Okay. Now, okay, so there's a question from Pavitra. Some of the BA job profiles ask for UAT knowledge or experience, so is the major testing phase BAs are expected to work? Yes, of course. Of course. UAT, I have already discussed this and I've already told you that UAT is very important for business analysts. UAT is something you will be doing even if you are not testing the application, you will be doing UAT. You are the person, the go-to person. Try to understand this. You are the go-to person for whom? For the stakeholders. Stakeholders will go to you for any kind, for any IT related question, IT related problem, IT related anything. You are the go-to person. They're not going to talk to developers. So it's your job to give them an actual walkthrough of the application. Make sure you walk the you give them means the business stakeholders, the business users, a walkthrough of the entire application and tell them that okay, so this is how the application works. This is what we understood from during the requirements phase, and this is what we have built. So that is UAT, and yes, it is very important for a business analyst. You will be doing this particular type of testing. Make sense? What about other testing levels like regression and implementation? It is, look, if you paid attention what I said during the testing class, it is possible that you may be involved in those testing types. It is possible. I have done it. Will you be doing it? It depends on your role. It depends. We don't know that, but you should be prepared. You should include that in your profile and say, hey, you know what? I know this. I can do this. Yes. There will be some questions uh, related to design phase. What is your role during the design phase? What do you do? Well, based on the requirements, based on the understanding of the project, I put the project in a pictorial perspective in using a tool called MS Visio. I'm very comfortable with MS Visio. I can create business process flows, swim lane diagrams, use cases, any kind of diagrammatic representation required in my project. I can do that, and I do it. And that is one of my responsibilities, and I mean, yeah, I can do it. So design is, as a business analyst, I can definitely indulge in requirements gathering and basic understanding of the project and develop all those diagrammatic representations in MS Visio. Okay, say all that stuff. If they ask you that, okay, once requirements and design is done, what do you do? What's your next step? Okay, what do you do? Well, once the requirements are done, once the design work is done, your job as a business analyst is to give a walkthrough to the developers. Make developers understand what needs to be done, what exactly needs to be built. So as a business analyst, you work as a perfect liaison between the business stakeholders and the developers. Until now, during the requirements and design phase, you were working with the stakeholders, understanding what needs to be done. Once everything is documented, your job is to make the developers understand what needs to be done. Okay, so at the beginning of the programming phase, you play a very active and a lead role in making sure that developers understand what needs to be done. So say all this during an interview. Okay, I mean, of course, streamline this answer, put better the right words in a very formal format, but say this during an interview. If they ask you, okay, so let's say they ask you, okay, so give me a couple of scenarios where you can write SQL queries, or in healthcare scenarios where you can be expected to write SQL queries. What do you think? If you are a BA working in the healthcare industry, what kind of queries you may be writing? What do you think? Now, I'll tell you one thing, guys. As a business analyst, you will be expected to write a lot of ad hoc queries. Okay, ad hoc queries is like somebody comes to me and says, hey, can you pull up a report for me? Yes, I can. What columns are you looking for? Okay, all these columns. What is this report meant for? Well, it's a list of all claims. It's a claims report. So somebody comes to me and wants to see the list of all denied claims in the month of January 2017. Listen to this very carefully. List of all denied claims in the month of 2017, January 2017. So select claim number, patient name, patient address, city, state, zip code, ICD code, all that stuff from member table where claim status equals to denied and claim service date or claim render date between 1/1/17 and 1/31/2017. This is an example. So this is an ad hoc query. So if somebody asks you that what kind of SQL queries you can write, well, I can write ad hoc SQL queries. My job is to understand what kind of report is being requested, what's the nature of the report, what's the intent of this report, what is the criteria for this report. I understand that format, and based on that format, I write a SQL query. I can write a SQL query. For example, list of all denied claims in the month of January. List of all the patients who had a claim in the month of May 2017. List of all ICD claims which were used in some claims in the first quarter of 2017. So select ICD name, ICD description, ICD number from ICD table where claim date between 1/1/2017 and 3/31/2017. So list of all ICD claims used in list of all ICD codes used in claims in the first quarter of 17. So these are the different scenarios. Okay, somebody wants to see a list of all denied patients for coverage. Okay, or list of all denied applicants if the government comes out and wants to audit your healthcare company and say, hey, you know what, we are from Obamacare. Not Obamacare is not a department, but we are from the government. We want to see that whenever anyone applies for coverage with a pre-existing condition younger than 19, we want to see whether they are denied or not. So we want to see a list of all denied people who were never given medical coverage. So your job is to write a query to pull up the data where application status equals to denied, where age is greater than less than 19, and so on. You pull up a list so that government can see the data and find out whether you are in compliance with Obamacare or not. Does it make sense, guys? So as a business analyst, try to picture yourself as someone who can understand the need of that data, understand the structure of that data, and write a SQL query to pull that data. That is called ad hoc querying. These different scenarios, list of all denied patients, list of all ICD codes, list of all denied claims. This is ad hoc querying. This is reporting. This is what you do when you work as a business analyst. Make sense, guys? Wayne says, can you please discuss how HIPAA 40 into 5010 project, basically BA's roles, is it similar to ICD-10 and ICD-9 to ICD-10, like upgrading codes? Yes, yes. Let's open this for a second. Just give me a second. Let me open that document. Where did I store that document? I don't know if you were if you attended the EDI class, not the EDI class, but the class I conducted for. Hold on. Class I conducted for business requirements versus technical requirements. That's when I used the example of the HIPAA 5010 project. Okay, so let's say this is the EDI transaction. Okay, this is the EDI transaction. Government came out and said, if this is a claim, this is one medical claim, right? And this is the first claim. And in the first claim, this is the ICD code. Let's assume this is the ICD code for anesthesia. So government, one of the rules government mandated in HIPAA 5010 project was, if a claim through an EDI 837 file is for anesthesia, it should always be reported in minutes. So it should be MJ here, like here. Okay, and this is the 84 minutes. 84 minutes of anesthesia was given. This is one of the rules. Okay, so your job is to understand the nature of that rule, what the government really wants. Okay, business stakeholders will come out and tell you this is what the government wants. This is what the government wants us to implement. So how will you implement? You will open this EDI file. You will track down this location. This is SV101-02. So if this code is this, let's open this. I don't know, it will make sense. So yeah, this is, I don't know if you remember this, but this is what I discussed in the class. So what it means is, if any EDI claim comes in and it has anesthesia claims, it should be reported in minutes. So SV101-02, if this is the code, that means the program will make sure, the program will check whether this is MJ or not. Okay. If this code is for anesthesia, this has to be MJ. This is what the program will check, the system will check. And if this is minutes, then yes, that is good. Then system will take this number and use this as minutes to process the medical claim. So this is one of the changes government wanted you to implement. Another change was, this is the zip code. Okay, Camp Hill, California, this is the state and this is the zip code. Government mandated that only 9-digit zip codes should be used. So these different rules are published by the government, and business stakeholders will tell you that, hey, these are the new rules. Now your job is to document these rules and write requirements in this format. Okay, in this format. Go through that recording if you have to. In this format, write the requirements, do the testing, and make sure the system is in compliance with HIPAA 5010. So 4010 was the old version, 5010 is the new version. New version says whenever you're using a zip code, it has to be a 9-digit zip code. Whenever you're using claims for anesthesia, it has to be reported in minutes. Whenever you're using first and last name, the limit can be 50 characters. These are some of the actual rules implemented in HIPAA 5010. I've documented here. I don't know if you have this document. I'll share this with you again. So anytime government comes out and mandates the industry to implement a new rule, your business stakeholders in your company, these business people, will work with the government, understand what the government wants, or will read the documentation published by the government, understand what it wants, and they will come to you and say, hey BA, this is what the government wants. Understand this, document this, do the requirements, do the testing, do the design work, do everything what is required. Just make sure our company is in compliance with the government, the CMS. So nature of these projects, HIPAA 4010 to 5010, ICD-9 to ICD-10, Obamacare, these three major examples of major projects, these are major implementations, okay, are done exactly the same. They're very similar to each other. That you understand the enhancement, you understand the change, then you look at the system, how the system is structured, how the system is built. Okay, what system? Um, sorry. Oh, sorry. This system, this EDI file claim processing system. This is how it is supposed to be structured. So government wants to make wants us to make changes in the system. Okay, we can make that change. Based on that request, we understand the change, analyze the change, write requirements for that change, do the design work, testing for that change. This is what we do. Overall foundation of all these projects is still the same. Range says, so B is going to do gap analysis, writing requirements. Yes, that is correct. If somebody asks you that what would be your approach to implement a project like Obamacare or ICD-10, what you would say is, after having a conversation with my business stakeholders, I would prepare a gap analysis document. Okay, in one column I will write what ICD-9 looks like. Second column, what ICD-10 would look like. As is and to be scenarios. You remember? As is and to be scenarios. That is called gap analysis. You are identifying the gap between how the situation looks like today and how the situation will look like in future. Based on the gap, you write requirements. That gap is the scope of your project. So I want you guys to say all these things in the interview. Of course, streamline your answer in your own words, but any enhancement project for a business analyst entails understand how the current situation looks like, how the future situation looks like, perform the gap analysis, identify the gap. Based on that gap, you write requirements for that gap. Implement that gap. That gap is the scope of the project right there. Make sense, guys? I think I'm going to have another class with you. What I'm thinking is that uh, since the marketing team hasn't worked out with you guys on your profile yet, and I mean, once you have your profile and all that, everything ready and brushed up and whatever may be the case, uh, you guys in the market, and let's say you take a couple of interview calls here and there and whatever. So I think we're going to have one or two classes more. We'll go over whatever you guys would be facing in those days. Okay, in that situation, it will make more sense. But for now, try to prepare all these topics as much as you can. Okay, both from the technical perspective, healthcare perspective, and behavioral perspective. If they ask you what are your strengths or what do you think a good BA should have his should be strong in certain areas, then what are those areas, or what are the good characteristics of a good BA? Well, he should be detail oriented, he should be adaptable, very good communicator, very good negotiator, very well organized, self-starter, independent, stuff like that. Okay, somebody might ask me, okay, so personally, people have asked me this question, so what do you think your weaknesses are? And when somebody does ask me this question, I would say, hey, look, I'm a detail oriented person, and I sometimes end up spending too much time on certain things which take a lot of my time. Okay, and sometimes it just turns out to be totally unnecessary. So I end up spending too much time on certain things of the project or certain aspects of the project which are totally not required. Okay, so just because I'm detail oriented, I want to know more and more. I want to do more and more research, which is good, but sometimes it just takes too much time and we have deadlines, right? So I think it's one of my weaknesses. Don't say I'm bad at time management. Just don't say that. It's a bad answer. Just say that because I'm a detail oriented, I spend too much time, and it's sometimes it's not a good idea. But I think I've improved a lot, and I have worked on that weakness for a very long time now, and I think I'm okay. I mean, I don't it's not no longer a weakness anymore, as bad as it used to be, because I manage my time very well now. So say those kind of things, okay? And somebody may ask you that, oh, so are you willing to relocate? Ankita says, would assertiveness be weakness or strength? Well, it depends on the interviewer. Okay, some people might take assertiveness as a potential conflict or something which can potentially lead to a conflict, because if you are very assertive, you are very strong opinionated, you may not be able to negotiate, you not be able to find a middle ground with other people or other teammates. So if they have had a problem with somebody who was very assertive, they may not like you. So for me personally, assertiveness is a strength. For me personally, I think it's a strength, but some people can take it negatively, so don't say it. Trust me, it's a good strength. I like it. Many people like it. Rather, most of the people like it. But you know, you know, here's the thing. Many of these organizations want you to be want to have some kind of diplomacy. Okay, they want you to do things. They want you to convey message in a little diplomatic fashion. Okay, because you'll be working with clients, you'll be working with technical people, you'll be working with some people outside your organization. So that requires some diplomacy, some soft skills, some soft negotiation. Okay, so being assertive, yes. Honestly, if I'm interviewing somebody and somebody comes to me and says, you know what, I'm very assertive, I would like that. But you don't know how your interviewer might take it. So avoid it if you can. Okay, because so here's the thing. This job or this environment, not just this job as a BA, but this environment, your team, it's a first of all, it's a team effort. You are in there as a team. If the project goes bad, You're responsible as a team. It's not that one person is responsible, it's because of one person. No, it's a team effort. And whatever you do is always a pre-negotiated um, scope or pre-negotiated list of tasks which you are working on. It's never, are we going to do A or versus are we going to do B, route A or route B? No, it's always a middle ground, or it's always a different version of either of these routes. So people in the IT industry prefer other people to be very, or their teammates to be very, very flexible. Somebody who can think out of the box. Somebody who can has the right soft skills to work with different teams. When you're working with a business person, you make sure you talk in their language. You use their lingo. Okay, you talk only in business terms. You don't use any technical lingo because they don't understand technology. And when you're talking with the developers or talking with technical people, you use all the possible technical terms you are aware of. Okay, so that they know what you are talking about. Okay, so as a BA, if working with developers, you have to be very specific. You have to use the right terms, very specific terms. If you know any particular term, use it. Okay, if you're talking about deductible, just use that deductible. Just don't say, oh, one of those deductible or copay or whatever that is. No, no, no. Be very specific that I'm talking about deductible. And in this project, this deductible needs to be modified or whatever. So a business analyst needs to understand that with whom is he talking to and what kind of risk, in what kind of fashion he should adopt while responding to this particular person. So your job requires a lot of lots of very usage of very diplomatic soft skills and making sure you're understanding everybody's needs. You're supposed to be a very good listener. Okay, this is one of these strengths. A BA is a very good listener because you have to listen and understand. Listen, comprehend, and document. That's what they say. Listen, comprehend, and document. And then cross question. And then listen, comprehend, and document. So as a BA, try to portray yourself in the interview that you are somebody who can work very easily with business stakeholders, who can see their point of view, understand their point of view, understand what their needs are from a business perspective, from a business standpoint, and convert that standpoint into technical requirements or technical language, or document everything in a very specific language which can be understood by the developers, or which can be communicated to the developers, so that they can write programs without any doubts about what exactly is written, or they're not very suspicious about, or they're not double-minded about what exactly you want to convey. Okay, so as a business analyst, I can work very easily, very easily with business people. I know what they're looking for. I can understand what kind of environment they prefer, what kind of communication I should have with business people. I know how it is done. And when it comes to developers, I know what I need to talk. I know how to say things, how to communicate things, how to understand what they are talking about. So I can switch gears between business and technical very well. If you can convey this message during your interview, your job is done. Okay, somebody who can facilitate things, who can take responsibility of things, somebody who can, somebody who can be trusted. If I don't know if I discussed this question last time, but one of the questions one of the questions people can ask you is that, okay, so okay, you want to work for this particular position, which is for business analyst. If I speak with your current boss, or if I speak with your previous boss, or if I speak with somebody who you have worked for, if I speak with that person about and ask questions about you, how would that boss describe you? You know what I'm saying? So for example, I'm interviewing you, Ankita. and I ask you that, okay, so Ankita, you're being interviewed for this position as a business analyst, but if I speak with your previous boss or last boss and ask how exactly Ankita was or what kind of resource Ankita is, what would that person say? What do you think? Okay, so this can be one of the questions. And rather, this question was very recently asked, that how would your previous boss describe you? You know, what I would say is, if you talk to my current boss or if you talk to my previous boss, he would describe me as somebody dependable. He would describe me as somebody who's independent, self-starter, and dependable. If there is a task which needs to be done, my manager trusts me that I will get the job done. I will take upon full responsibility of that task. I will do everything in my capacity to get everything done, and I will get it done. If I have any problems, I will bring it up. If I have any questions, I will ask those questions. If I'm having any problems, I'll bring it up. But I will get that done. So if you talk to my current or my last boss about my personality, he would say such things, that I'm a very dependable, I'm somebody who can be relied upon. I take responsibility of my work, I get things done. This is the kind of resource I am. HIPAA 4010, HIPAA 5010, Obamacare, ICD, EDI, SQL, all these things. These are some of the things which you know. There are many things in the healthcare industry, millions of things which you don't know. Even I don't know. Nobody would know unless you're working for that firm, because that is proprietary to that firm. If they ask you that, okay, so this is a particular tool which we are assuming that you have never worked on, because this is proprietary to our organization. We built it for our needs, to cater to our needs. How would you work on this? As a business analyst, I know all these things. I know so much about the healthcare industry. I know so much about business analysis or different phases of business analysis. I'm very comfortable in different responsibilities held by a BA. So I know all this stuff. So since I have experience with that, learning a new tool or learning a new technology, learning a new platform wouldn't be very hard for me. I'm a fast learner. I can learn it and I can get the job done. I know all these things. I know A, B, C, and D. I don't know about E, but I can learn that E. And I can get it done, because I'm a fast learner. So this should be your attitude. This should be your, you don't have to be blatant about this, but this should be your overall attitude in an interview. That I know all these things. I know projects like how Obamacare would be implemented. I know how ICD 5010 can be implemented. I can write requirements. I can do gap analysis. I can do all these things. I can do requirements. I know BRD. I know RTM. I know all these things. I can do this. This is only when they bring up something which you have never even heard of. This is how you respond. I mean, don't blatantly. I mean, of course, use the right formal words in that interview. I mean, I'm not going to iterate all those, the perfect answer, but you know what I'm talking about. Does it make sense, guys? Okay, so what questions do you have?
Dhruv,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question here with whatever you just now said that we should be confident enough to say that I know PRD, RTM writing and whatever.
Yes.
So so how is it if we don't have any hands-on experience in this? I mean, I understand that showing confidence is the plus point, but without any